Come on in. Welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about 5 Survivor players who are hated by their tribe mates for seemingly no reason. I find these tribal pariahs to be one of the most fascinating sorts of players from a sociological point of view. What, if anything, did they do wrong? Why were they so hated? Does every group just need a punching bag? And if so, what does that say about American society? About humanity? Are human beings an inherently cruel species, or is othering outsiders merely a defense mechanism we adopt to stay in the in-group? Well, I'm not equipped to answer any of those questions, but I am equipped to talk about Survivor. So today, let's talk about Survivor players who are hated by their cast for what would appear to be basically no reason. So, for example, almost everyone in Survivor Philippines hated Abby Maria, but from our point of view, it was pretty clear why people didn't like her. Rather, these are players where, from the audience POV, the hate looks completely out of left field. At worst, these players were like mildly annoying, with disproportionately vitriolic responses to their mere existence. I mean, some players have even been made to do dishes on their damn birthday. My God.
Washing dishes on my birthday.
Finally, this list is by no means exhaustive. Many players have been poorly treated on Survivor, but for me, these are the 5 which I think audiences found most bum-puzzling from the couch. So put on your Clue hat, grab yourself some beans, and don't hit your head back there as we talk about 5 Survivor players who were hated by their tribes for seemingly no reason. At number 5 is Alicia in Survivor Kaôh Rōng. Oh, Blondie. Alicia was a major fish out of water on the Braun tribe this season and was particularly hated by Scott and Jason, who didn't vote her out first when they had the chance and instead held that against her the rest of her time in the game. Alicia did not fit into this tribe of jocks, beefcakes, and one of the greatest bounty hunters of all time in the lower southeast Michigan area. And her brawny claim to fame was that her dad was a boxing promoter. She wasn't exactly fitting into the beefy culture on this tribe. I don't dispute that Alicia should have been one of the first few people out on this tribe because she just didn't fit the culture. But from the jump, Scott and Jason treated her like an idiot, talked down to her, and expected her to kiss their butts every time they very graciously didn't spit on her. Now, I don't know if Scott and Jason knew this, but there's actually a mechanism in Survivor for getting rid of players you don't like personally. See, every 3 days or so, you actually go to this cool place called Tribal Council, where you can actually vote someone out with a simple majority. You actually don't ever have to see Alicia again if you don't want. But instead, these two kept her over both Darnell, whose biggest crime was taking an aqua dump, and Jenny, who spiraled after getting caught scheming. And they took out their frustrations of their constant challenge losses on an easy target, often in the most dickish way possible. Alicia was at worst a little irritating, and she didn't fit in, but Scott and Jason acted like she hid their creatine powder. At number 4 is Cochran in Survivor South Pacific. When you're talking about Survivor players bizarrely hated by their tribe, you've got to talk about at least one of the Survivor nerds. And I mean, take your pick. Skinny Ryan, Anthony, Sharin. But for me, Cochran best exemplifies this. Obviously, Cochran didn't fit in with the culture of the Savai'i tribe. He wasn't a cool kid, and they really didn't get his dark humor.
Yeah, we're all gonna have pig gut breakouts tomorrow on our skin.
We're probably also all gonna have oral herpes.
What?
Now, even if Cochran isn't your cup of tea, Savai'i took things a tad too far in my opinion, and almost everyone treated him like dirt right from the get-go. Almost every vote was the same. Cochran fumbled the challenge, he was berated for it, but instead of just voting him out, Jim would push for one of Ozzy's little cuddle buddies to go instead, leaving Cochran in the game to be picked on and scapegoated anew, and on and on and on it went. The tribe used Cochran as their challenge loss punching bag, but refused to just be rid of him because Jim was addicted to chronically overplaying. It all culminated in Cochran's game-shifting merge flip, when Coach, himself a geek at heart, convinced Cochran to come to his side and drink the Kool-Aid. And Cochran joined Upolu knowing that he's the bottom of the totem pole there too, but at least Keith isn't gonna win $1 million. I don't know, maybe I'm breaking my own rules here. It's pretty easy to see why Cochran was disliked by Savai, but their response to his challenge fumbles and pretty tame jokes were so ridiculously disproportionate to anything we saw. And we aren't even talking about their response after his flip, where Savai just turned into a bunch of cartoonishly evil bullies out of an 80s high school comedy.
You got a lot to learn, buddy. You disgust me.
Okay, so now you're mad about being unfaithful. At number 3 is Karishma in Survivor, Island of the Idols. Karishma holds the Survivor record for most votes in a single season when we take into account votes negated by idols. She was the perennial backup plan on almost every vote she took part in. The only allies she ever had were allies of convenience, and her poor challenge performance and high emotions made her an easy target for the physical players and game bots this season, who were often one and the same. As we saw on the show, Karishma was a little unprepared for Survivor. She was out of her element, so she put up walls in defense, making it difficult for players to connect with her personally. From our point of view, we saw a Karishma who was a little whiny, a little lazy, a little constantly on the verge of tears, but we also saw a vulnerable side to Karishma, the shining light of her personality, which she didn't really let her tribe mates in on. So instead of a valued member of the tribe, or at least a tolerated member of the tribe, Karishma was the constant backup plan. So much so that Dean suggested a split vote on her when she was standing right there.
So then we just split the vote.
Everyone else is here.
Huh?
God, I truly love that man. I see how one might think Karishma doesn't fit in on this list, even though I thought the response to her from the other players was ridiculously overblown, and the fact that a lot of viewers really connected with her vulnerability in confessionals and her rootable underdog story. I'd still wager that a portion of the audience themselves found Karishma rather irritating, and that's totally fair. Not me though. I'm a man of taste and culture, and Karishma was accidentally putting out god-tier memes every single episode.
That's
2 and 2.
what you want.
It was like in my mouth. I love Applebee's. Wow.
At number 2 is Christina in Survivor One World. Okay, so we know why some players on this cast hated Christina, but Christina was constantly belittled by a lot of people on this season for reasons that went seemingly unexplained to the audience. After all, this is a woman who comforted Colton during his little tummy ache after he'd been repeatedly racist towards her and bullied her. So why did this cast lose their shit every time she took a breath? What did she do? How could you have a strong opinion on Christina at all?
You have 2 more days. You have 2 options. You have
You
3.
can
You
enjoy-
can enjoy your last 2 days. You can quit or you can jump in that fire, whichever is more convenient for you.
Right now, no one likes me.
Here's my own armchair psychology on the situation. Christina was a really kind person, but an extremely passive player, and that made her an easy target for anyone to throw under the bus at any time. This cast was super cliquey, and for there to be a clique, there have to be people outside of the clique. So she was an easy person to vilify for anyone looking to advance in the game. And sometimes the scapegoating got needlessly cruel. She was somewhat accurately perceived as doing very little in the game. So players with, let's say, overly rosy perceptions of their games were mad that someone like Christina got further than them. It all added up to a player whose mere existence, whose every advancement in the game of Survivor pissed off a large percentage of this cast because they didn't view Christina as worthy of going far in the game, and who, let's be honest, weren't exactly the strategic gods they thought they were.
I'm proud of myself, but like, I just don't believe it was my time to go. And I left before Christina.
So, shout out to Christina for outlasting every single one of those people and making it to the final freaking 4. Good for her. At number 1 is Sierra in Survivor Tocantins. I think Sierra will forever be the player whose hatred by the other players was most baffling to the audience at home. As we saw it, Sierra was just sort of there, blandly inoffensive, the Josh Groban of Survivor players. But the way everyone on this season outside of Brendan reacted to her, you'd think her last name was Hance. From literally the first moment of the game when she was quote-unquote voted out by her tribe just as the game started, it was clear that Sierra was not Tambira's cup of tea. But she inspired a level of hatred from Coach and Tyson that seemed completely unwarranted, and unfortunately was almost always hilarious.
To me, she's of no worth. I mean, her parents probably love her. I can't imagine her boyfriend's that cool.
Man, even her boyfriend is catching strays. Here's what I think happened. From a narrative point of view, Sierra was our foil to these villains, and to make them look bad, they went out of their way to portray her overly heroically, when most of the players found her obnoxious and entitled, the evidence of which apparently ended up on the cutting room floor. Whether Tyson's picking on Sierra was warranted or not just because she was annoying is up to you. They say comedy's getting away with it, so I'll leave you to be the judge on if he did. But it's not just Tyson. When asked on Reddit, Steven said, "I think Sierra came off a little bit like a bullied hero. Sierra was very difficult to be around for long periods of time," which is about the meanest thing you'll ever hear come out of Fishbach's mouth. Then there's this absolutely legendary opening line from Reality Blurred's Andy Denhart from his pre-game interview with Sierra all the way back in the day. "I thought I liked Sierra Reed more until I re-listened to our interview, when I rediscovered how ridiculously abrasive and annoying she is." Goddamn, they don't make Survivor journos like that anymore. Anyway, Sierra almost certainly irritated everyone in Survivor Tocantins, but unlike a lot of other players who rubbed their tribe the wrong way, this went almost completely unseen on the show, and she was instead propped up in the edit to make Coach and Tyson look extra bad. You know, because they needed to dunk on this guy harder than they already were. Got nothing else for ya. If you like this video more than Tyson likes ragging on Sierra, like and subscribe and I'll get you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.